We're on. Hello. Hola. How you doing?
What's up, y'all?
How does Wendy say it?
I don't
Do
know.
your face like it and try it. Let me see
I
you try it.
know. You do it, bro.
How you doing? That was horrible.
Yeah, well.
That was bad. I saw myself. Ooh. Anyway, hello. Welcome to Ask the Ma'ats. I am Aiyana Ma'ats.
And I'm Ayize.
And this is my.
You already introduced me,
I
man.
know I did, but I
I
don't
mean, I
feel
already introduced myself.
I don't like that. Let's start over.
No.
I don't.
All right, y'all.
We
We can go ahead and jump right into the
we're supposed
questions.
to introduce each other. For those who follow us, I always say, "This is my adorable husband, Ayize," and then he says,
This is my sweetheart, Iana.
That's how we do it. So we were kind of off today. We don't always say the same words, but we try to introduce each other. All right, y'all. Let's get into the question. We got a question. It came in, and here it is. I love your website, blackloveandmarriage.com. The info is very helpful. I could use some advice. I'm having a really difficult time dealing with my husband's infidelity. To make matters worse, he's still texting and calling her. I feel like a soap opera and cliche. I want to save my marriage, but how do I deal with the mental and emotional aspects? It's so hard to smile and carry on a conversation. Just to see his iPhone upsets me because I found their texts and their calls. I stay paranoid that whenever he's out of my presence, he's talking to her. I try not to keep bringing her up, but I don't know how else to deal with it. If you don't have anything to help, I understand. Just pray for me whenever I come to mind. Keep up the good work that you do. Whoop, there it is.
It's really interesting that you even asked that question because, a lot of people who are in a similar situation would say that because he's still doing what it is that you don't want him to do, that would be enough to really be out of the relationship. So you're still trying to save the marriage, be in the marriage, and you admit that he's still texting and he's still calling the other woman. One of the questions that I have for you is why are you tolerating this?
Yes, Lord.
Why is this? You say it's unacceptable behavior, but it's almost as if like the
Did she say
paradigm has
that?
been set up. No, she didn't say that, but based off of what she's writing in, she doesn't. It's not something that she wants. She doesn't want this to be happening, but
Mm-hmm.
why is the paradigm set up in such a way where, it's almost as if like he's being given permission to do this because you know what's happening and you're not doing anything about it. Now he is a man and you are a woman, so if either one of you decided to cheat, then that would be on you, and you could do it even if your spouse puts their foot down and they say no, don't do it anymore. But it's almost as if like you're coming from this helpless space, like how do I deal with the mental and emotional turmoil that comes from his infidelity? Like you have to deal with it, like you have to tolerate it. And for him to be laying his phone out and you're going through all of this stressful stuff as a result of seeing his phone, it's not something that you have to deal with. It's really not. And for you to be asking the question like it's almost like how do I manage in the face of his infidelity? I know he's going to cheat. He's cheating. I see him cheating. How do I emotionally deal with him cheating? How do I get myself to a space where it's almost as if like it's okay for him to do it and I maintain some sense of sanity in the face of him doing it. How do I make that acceptable in my mind? So how do you? how,
Uh-huh.
how do you now again, you can go through the process of compartmentalizing. So, the woman
What does
she
that mean?
compartmentalizing a certain part of your life, of you all's relationship, where he has the side piece. He has the other woman, and you accept the fact that the other woman will be there.
It's not
So you
supposed to do that.
compartmentalize, yeah, exactly. So you compartmentalize that relationship and say that's his other woman. That's over there. It ain't got nothing to do with the house. It ain't got nothing to do with what we got going on over here. So that's one way that's a defense mechanism as well. Where you actually rationalize through the process of compartmentalizing his behavior and making it acceptable because for it to be all up in your space it would then be unacceptable. So you put it over there. You put it out there in the ether and say, if he's going to do it, he's going to do it over there. And it's okay as long as it's over there. But what I would say to you is that if you got problems with it, even if it's over there, you shouldn't be all up in here in this relationship. And it's as simple as that because if he can't abide by, if he can't agree to commit to the terms of the relationship, then you ain't got no relationship. At least the way you like it, at least the way you want it.
um, you know, I tried. I sat here while I read this thing and while my husband spoke, and I find that I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Folks are sending in questions, and the question oftentimes, at the root of the question is, what do I do? What do I do in this fucked up situation? It's messed up, and I'm not even putting forward in the letter that I'm doing anything to try to change it. That it's unacceptable and it's wrong, and I know that I need to not be in this situation. That I'm getting out, that I'm standing up for myself. I'm not putting any of that in here. I just want to know how do I maintain, how do I deal with this, or he does this and he does that, or she does this and she does that, and you know what do I do? Now, perhaps I'll go ahead and put this caveat in there. Perhaps you have made some attempts and you haven't been successful, and you just forgot to put that in there to actually, set some boundaries and to say, wait a minute, and to take care of yourself. But my hunch is that you haven't. And I could go down that lane that I've gone down before when I've answered these questions from you guys who I love. I love y'all because y'all keep it 100 when you send in the questions. That's the point. You're anonymous. You get to get your question out, right? And you say, what do I do? Give me some tips. But let me help you to understand this. I'm not going to go down this road of why are you putting yourself in this situation? Why are you dealing? What I want to know is, what do you know about yourself that allows you to be in the situation, to stay in the situation, to accept the situation, and to not advocate for yourself? What do you know about yourself? If you don't know much about yourself, that gives you a clue. When I was little, it was kind of like this. Nobody listened to me. I didn't feel heard. I feel scared to be on my own. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it by myself. If you don't know what it is that keeps you where you are, then you cannot begin to dig yourself out. This ain't even going to be no answer about you don't need to be there. Not for me today. That's a given. That's a given for everybody listening to this. It's a given. You can't be sitting here I'm trying to figure out what, you sound pitiful. Pitiful. And I'll be real, you sound pathetic. But I'm going to put it to you like this. In love, sister. Because sometimes you got to hear it like that so you can understand where you're really at. In order to get from this place of being pitiful to a place of power, you've got to figure out what it is that is keeping you bound. There's a saying, I don't know the saying, I know I'm going to mess it up, because I always mess up. I be saying that's a saying and I mess up the sayings, right? But it's a saying, something about, it's about back in the day, is it like the Willie Lynch thing with masters and slaves, that, once you have someone's mind locked up or bound, this ain't a saying, I'm just this ain't a saying, I'm just breaking it down.
You want to tell a story.
It ain't a saying,
I was looking for a quote.
It's a paragraph. It's not like your little two-worders. Don't be thirsty. That's his joint. No, that's 3 words. Don't be thirsty. That's all he'll say. Sum it up. But my point is that when you are a slave, and some of us are slaves in our relationships. Let's keep it 100. We're slaves to our emotions. We're slaves to our fears. When you are a slave and you've been taught, whether it's been through your upbringing and through the patterns that you have seen in your life, whether it's through whatever, when you are a slave, which it appears that you are, no one has to keep you anywhere. He doesn't have to convince you as to why you should stay. He doesn't have to pretend that he's not doing it. He doesn't have to hide his phone. He doesn't have to do any of that, because you'll do it for him. You'll be in denial. You'll look the other way. You'll figure out, or try to figure out, how to be okay. You'll try to carry on a conversation and try to crack a smile even though it's hard. When you need to frown, my sister, you need to have a conversation with him and say, I'm not carrying on this foolishness anymore, because I have been in a place where I have been pitiful, and this is hard for me, but I have figured out what has been keeping me bound. When you figure that out, articulate it for yourself. Go get some therapy. Figure out what you got to do. Once you figure out, oh, this is why I do it. My mama did it. This person did it. I saw it over here. I'm afraid. I'm scared. La, la, la. Whatever it is, find it out. Hit us up. 202-599-0234. Schedule a session and then release yourself. Because guess what? Ain't nobody doing this to you. You're doing this to yourself.
Don't click it off yet.
You're doing this to yourself. Okay. And my husband wants to say something else. I was getting ready to say, stop playing, start pushing. But truly, you are keeping yourself bound. You're keeping yourself in this situation, and it is a pitiful situation. And you really, 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 really got to make a change.
Yeah, and in reference to what my wife was trying to say.
Oh, you getting ready to give him the quote?
Yeah, I'm about to give him the quote.
You think you try to be the master?
Yeah,
of the quote.
So
Okay.
I'm actually looking it up though because I can't recall it right off the top of my head.
It's not doing anything.
But it's a quote from Carter G. Woodson.
Oh, here it is. Oh, that don't look right. Anyway, it's from the Miseducation of the Negro.
Miseducation of the Negro. And basically what he says is that if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions.
Ooh! Say it again.
If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions.
Mm-hmm.
When you determine and my computer is taking a while.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get this for y'all because it's a significant quote, and a lot of times we're in relationships where, our spouses are controlling our thinking and they got us bound and like you said, like a slave. So here's the quote right here, y'all.
All right, listen closely.
If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do.
My.
If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one.
Woo! You do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status. For he will seek it himself. And today, we want you to not seek an inferior status in your relationship. That's not who you are. Sometimes my stuff comes across a little bit harsh, a little critical, because it's supposed to be. When I give it to you like that, it's because I want to shake you out of it into the power that you really have. Because God, this is my own personal belief, makes all of us awesome, makes all of us beautiful, just bursting with potential. And then we start to mess it up because we start to believe the lies that we've been told throughout our lives. We start to really buy into the bull that somebody else, whether it's our partner or our parents, our mommy, our daddy, or the world has told us about ourselves. And then we find ourselves in a situation like this where we have written a letter into Ayize and Aiyana, and we've actually said, it's kind of hard for me to figure out how to even smile because, he still talks to her and he still texts her, and what can I do because this is so hard, and we don't even realize that the things that we are writing in that letter are absolute foolishness. He doesn't have to compel you to an inferior status because you've already done it for yourself. And if you want to move, if you want to be different, if you want to get out of this miserable situation and really step into who you really are, you're going to have to go through some pain first, my sister. But when you go through the pain, you will reach a point of pleasure. You will. But you've got to be willing to stop playing and what, babe?
Start pushing.
Start pushing.